You know, there's something about handheld games that makes them feel different from console games. Maybe it's the clever tricks developers have to use to give you more information in a smaller space. And maybe it's the way you can bring them with you wherever you go and say, "Fuck you, world, I've got something more entertaining than Angry Birds to play while I wait in line." Or maybe it's the way you have to bury your nose in it when you play it like it's the most engrossing book you've ever read. Or maybe they're really not that different at all. I feel like they are. So anyway, I mean, some of the best games I've ever played, especially lately, have been handheld games. So I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, to give you dookieshed's top 5 most entertaining handheld games of all time. Number 5! Kirbys Dreamland 2 is one of those classics for the original Game Boy that I'll never forget. I played this game like crazy when I was little. Not only could you steal your enemy's powers like you could in Kirby's Adventure, it also featured 3 rideable animal characters who would in some way change whatever power you had. My personal favorite was getting the owl when you had the electricity power. The game was incredibly well paced and had just enough little secrets to pique your curiosity without wasting a bunch of your time. The music was happy and energetic, but when it was time to fight one of the franchise's classic bosses, the soundtrack was sure to let you know. All the different combinations of animals and special powers made for endless fun and experimentation, and kept the game fresh the whole way through. Kirbys Dreamland 2 was an instant classic, and if you haven't played it, you just should.
Number 4.
9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors for the DS. Listen, this game is crazy as fuck. You've probably never heard of 999. I don't think it's all that popular. I mean, I didn't even know about it until I got it last Christmas. But seriously, this game is insane. 999 is part puzzle, part novel. Like, the game actually admits to having a novel portion. It's about this college kid, Junpei, who gets abducted and trapped on a sinking ship along with 8 other people by some guy named Zero. No, not that Zero. Not that Zero either. Anyway, he forces them to play something called the Nonary game in order to escape. The premise is reminiscent of something like the Saw movies, but it's really the only similarity, as 999 has about 6 billion times more thought put into it. The novel portion of the game is really like reading a book, but there's some cool-ass anime-style pictures and a dramatic soundtrack to please the senses while you're doing all that reading. Honestly, even if reading isn't your thing, the story of this game will have you so enraptured that you won't be able to put it down until you get all of the endings, of which there are 6, by the way. Your ending is determined a lot by the dialogue choices you make, paths you choose to go down, and even what endings you've already unlocked. I mean, there are stories, and then there's 999. I swear, after getting a couple of very disappointing endings, I binged on this game for about 10 hours one day, getting all the rest. The lack of information you're given on your first playthrough leaves you with an insatiable craving for more. You have no choice but to get the other endings. Now, while it might seem like a pain to have to go through the game again and again, the devs were kind enough to allow you to fast forward through the dialogue you've already seen, and will kindly halt your fast forwarding when you hit some new content. You can even scroll back up and read something over again if you want. The developers don't want you missing a beat with this game. The story is phenomenal and they know it. So the actual puzzle-solving portion, which is what advances you through Zero's Nonary game, is reminiscent of something like Silent Hill, where you find different objects or codes and have to apply them to your surroundings in order to unlock the next door or whatever. The difficulty is pretty much spot on. The characters even start to drop hints if you're proving to be a dumbass like I was a couple times. Hey, we all have our moments. 999 is a truly unique experience and is unlike anything you've ever played. I highly recommend this game to anyone who can read or think. Number 3! Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance was a game that really needed to be made. The very first Metroid game on NES was inexcusably bad. I don't care what you want to argue, that game is ridiculously difficult and gives you zero direction on where to go or what to do. And while that might seem fitting for a genocidal solo mission on an alien planet, Zero Mission nails it in the narrative department. Aside from the intro to this game and some stuff near the end, there's basically no dialogue. You get your mission briefing and then it's like, bam, Planet ZBs, go! A really cool touch they added to this game, however, is Samus's interaction with the Chozo statues scattered around the planet. Rather than just, here, take this item! Like we've seen in most of the previous games, the Chozos seem to be in tune with Samus somehow as they guide her to new points of interest on her map. Oh yeah, there's a map! No more aimlessly wandering copy-pasted bullshit like in the original game. Anyway, the Chozos, along with a few quasi-animated cutscenes, basically represent the narrative of this game. They do a good job guiding you through the game while still preserving that feeling of isolation you should feel from exploring an alien planet. Zero Mission has a whole mess of items and enemies that weren't in the original, and there are even some items you pick up that are unknown due to them being incompatible with your current suit. This was something I really enjoyed. Despite the fact that it was frustrating not getting your reward immediately, it felt so much better when you finally did. What was even worse was I knew what a lot of the items were just by their graphic, because I knew the series pretty well. So I'd be all like, sweet, I'm getting the plasma beam. Oh, ha, it's incompatible. But like I said, that much more rewarding later on. Speaking of later on, this game does one major thing that is completely unique from the original. You think this shit's over when you defeat Mother Brain? Think again, sucker! I don't want to spoil it too much, but Samus ends up completely stripped of her power suit and is left with only a pathetic stun pistol to defend herself as she crawls around a ship teeming with space pirates who can completely wreck Samus at her current power level. Let me tell you, this part of the game is intense. The helplessness you feel is so real. After being able to just tear through enemies with all your power-ups, being left with only the Zero Suit is just demoralizing. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much, but you get your suit back, and it feels good. Another cool little touch this new content adds is actually the origin of the zone wrecked ship in Super Metroid, in case you'd ever wondered exactly what ship was wrecked and just the overall weirdness of the place. All in all, this game is fantastically fun. It may be a little on the easy side, but hey, it feels good when you play it. Metroid games are known for being immersive and making you feel what Samus is feeling, and this game does just that.
Number 2.
I don't have to sit here and tell you Pokemon is an awesome game, so it should come as no surprise that a Pokemon game would come up on my list of the top handheld games of all time. So the question is, which Pokemon game do I consider to be the best? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you HeartGold and SoulSilver. HeartGold and SoulSilver are DS remakes of the Gold and Silver versions that came out for the Game Boy Color, so for the most part, these are Generation 2 games. However, due to these games directly following Diamond and Pearl versions, they're actually considered to be Gen 4 games. This is one of the greatest strengths of this game. It originates from an era in which there were 250-something Pokemon, which by today's standards isn't a very intimidating number. The rate at which new Pokemon are introduced to you is very gentle. Even if you're only familiar with the original 150, you won't be seeing a lot of unfamiliar faces until much later in the game when Generations 3 and 4 start to show up. And by then, you'll welcome the new faces with open arms, or balls. One of the first things you'll notice about this game is that the lead Pokemon in your party will actually follow you around outside of its Pokeball. This isn't something we'd seen since Yellow version, and even then it was just that sorry-ass Pikachu. This was a feature that I absolutely loved, and I know a lot of people feel the same. You could turn around and check on your Pokemon to see how it was feeling, and it would actually change based on your surroundings or how much it liked you. Sometimes they would even be holding items for you. This also led to some funny situations to think about, notably when being followed around by some terrifying legendary Pokemon. Dialga began poking you in the stomach. I mean, honestly, I could just ramble forever about all the great features of this game, but I'll try to stop myself before then. So man, I thought it was so cool how you could just play the whole game using the stylus without ever having to put it away, or if you don't like the stylus, you could just play the whole thing without picking it up. It was like totally up to you. Oh, and there's this item you can get if you go to the Game Freak HQ in the game, and one of the dudes gives you a key item called GB Sounds, and it plays the 8-bit soundtrack from Gold and Silver instead of the new music, and it's like super nostalgic and awesome. And if you missed that whole berry planting thing from Generation 3, you're probably thinking, well, this game has apricorns, so you probably can't pick berries and plant them. But no, you actually do get these berry pots that you can keep in your inventory where you plant berries and water them with this cool Squirtle bottle. Oh, and it came with this awesome little Pokewalker, which was almost like a Tamagotchi kind of thing, but you could like send one of your Pokemon from your game into the Pokewalker and like take it with you, like when you go to work and you can't actually play the game, and like it would walk with you and you could get items and you could actually catch Pokemon on the Pokewalker and you'd send them back into your game and you'd have the items on the Pokemon you caught. It was just so awesome! Man, I love this game. Seriously, if you want to get into Pokemon, play HeartGold or SoulSilver, because it's just so fun! Jeez! Number 1! What could possibly get me more excited than Pokemon, you might ask? What is, dare I say, the perfect handheld game? Well, if you've played this game before, the music has probably already clued you into the masterpiece that is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, specifically the DX version for the Game Boy Color. This game was so gosh damn good that they remade it for Game Boy Color and released it again on 3DS Virtual Console, where it currently has a 5-star rating with over 27,500 reviews. I mean, do I really need to sing its praises? Probably not, but fuck it, it deserves adulation from choirs of angels. So, this was the first Zelda game not to feature Princess Zelda in any way. Link mentions her once near the beginning when he's woken up by Marin, and that's it. The game actually has a surprising number of Mario references, which should be your first clue that maybe things aren't what they seem. The setting of this game, Koholint Island, is completely unrelated to Hyrule or anything else that had been in the previous Zelda games, and I think that's where a lot of the charm lies. That being said, Link's Awakening is still very much a Legend of Zelda game, just without the Zelda. There's an overworld, a bunch of dungeons, a lot of familiar items, all the core concepts of its predecessors are there, but the sense of urgency and immediate peril has been lifted. Koholint Island is actually a pretty calm place. Yeah, there are moblins and the like out there, ready to eviscerate you, but that doesn't scare your imagination out of driving you forward to explore this totally uncharted island. The game is set on a perfect learning curve in respect to both the combat and puzzle solving. There are plenty of hints about where to go and what to do strewn about the game, and most dungeon puzzles simply ask you to apply a new ability you just got in a creative way. Or just throw this pot at this door, obviously! Duh, jeez, are you retarded? One of the things that really helps spark your sense of adventure is the music in this game. The overworld theme is similar to that of the previous games, but with a couple new sections that seem to ignite a bit of intangible wanderlust in the player. And the music for Telltale Heights? Oh man, sickest Zelda track ever. In fact, this game really is all about music. The Legend of Zelda is certainly well known for its lovable score, but it was kind of the norm in other Zelda games to go through dungeons collecting generic fantasy objects like pendants or crystals. In Link's Awakening, you actually obtain a musical instrument at the end of each dungeon. When you've collected all 8 of them, you play the Ballad of the Windfish in front of Yoshi's egg, the Windfish's egg, in order to wake him up. And that brings me to another interesting concept in this game. From the very beginning, you're given subtle hints about how real Koholint Island actually is. People keep mentioning this Windfish and his dream. Some characters are telling you to wake him up, others are trying to stop you. What's a boy to do? As the game progresses, you keep asking yourself, is this all really just a dream? Do I even want to wake the Windfish? What happens to all my new friends? I was trying to get Marin in the sack, god dang it! The point is, this game makes you feel certain things as you play, whether it's the spark of exploration or that feeling of impending dread you have about waking up this dang Windfish. What'll happen when you do? Play it and find out, bitches! Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Think I missed a game on my top 5 list? Have a suggestion for a video I should make in the future? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe or I'll kill you!